Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to be going over how to convert your listing leads in 2024. This essentially could be anything as far as, YouTube ads, Facebook ads. This could be your email campaign, newsletters, or just even those flyers that you send out to people's mail. I don't know, but this is just sort of how to convert those listing leads so that you can actually have an extremely high conversion rate, and I'm going to be going over all that in this video. Just wanted to let you know that I really appreciate you watching a video like this. I'm going to be honest with you, in the day and age of YouTube that we're in right now, you'll see a lot of videos that are like, they always try to fill your dopamine receptors with edits, captions, music, whatever. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I probably am going to do that in the future as well. But the fact that you're able to sit down and actually watch a video like this without being distracted, yeah, I really find that commendable. Thank you very much, and you should give yourself a real pat on the back for that. So, getting straight into it, just a quick plug. My name is Sinan. I am a consultant for real estate agents. I do done for you marketing services. I get 2 to 4 listings a month on YouTube and about 3 to 4 closed deals every month on Facebook. It really depends on what you're looking for, is what the results I can get. And so, if you wanted to give me a quick look, just sort of look at some social proof, whatever, then I'd love for you to just go down and click the link in the description. It'll bring you to a landing page where it'll just, I'm going to be honest with you, it is a sales page. So, I mean, I'm going to try and, get you to book an appointment, so we can have a further conversation later. I'm going to be really transparent about that. And then we can talk about that later, to give it a look. The link is in the description. And also, funny thing, really quick, I'm not American, I'm Canadian. Just wanted you to know that. I was just in Florida for a little bit. Yeah, anyways, moving on. So here's what we're going to be implementing today. Here's what you're going to be learning. First of all, we're going to go over how lead generation works, sort of boiled down to a system. I'm going to be explaining the exact system that when it comes to lead generation and just sort of how systems work, and then also just sort of give you a better understanding of the fundamentals, strategies, stimuli, action, just sort of everything like that, and just sort of giving you everything that you need to know as far as lead generation goes, just building up those fundamentals and those learning blocks so that when it comes down to it and you actually start implementing everything else, you're going to be a hell of a lot better than anyone else in the game. And I'm going to be honest with you, some people choose to skip this part because it is pretty long. It doesn't really make too much sense at the beginning, but the more you think that you don't need it is the more that you need it. Fundamentals is essentially what keeps is basically the backbone of your business. So the more you get the opportunity to build those fundamentals, the more that it's going to support you. Um, and then next, we're gonna be going over my story with the 0% conversion rate. This was back in like 2022. So I mean, I feel like a lot of people can find this relatable, which is why I'll be sharing it. I'll go over it quickly, but essentially, it's just sort of going over what happened to me when I had 0% conversion rate and the problems I was facing and how I basically escaped it. And exactly what got me into there in the first place, just so you can get a better understanding and compare to your situation as well. And then I'm also going to be going over the one mistake that everyone makes. This is essentially, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm supposed to kind of hide it and then tell you later, but just to get you interested a little bit, I want you to know that the number one mistake everyone makes is monkey see, monkey do. Everyone's just copying and pasting each other, and I used to do the exact same thing, if I'm going to be honest. And so there's a right way to do it, there's a wrong way to do it, and I'm going to be going over exactly what to do because some people also like to do the opposite of monkey see, monkey do, and refuse to look at anything that anyone else is doing and try and be new and original and come up with their own thing that sort of goes against the market and then sends them 6 feet under the ground. And so, I just wanted to let you know, like, I'm gonna be going over the right way to do it, and a lot of this comes from the book. What was it? How to Steal Like an Artist. Really good book. I definitely recommend giving it a read. But I'll be explaining a lot of fundamentals from there as well. And then I'm also going to be going over the solution, the script I have to provide. So that, like, this script is absolutely like, it's a killer. It works really, really well. I'm going to be honest with you though. I don't want you to copy and paste this script. I'm going to be explaining more why so later. I want you to add like your own spin to it. Make it just sort of match your tonality and also your way of speaking. And then also, I'm going to be honest with you. I want you to go watch other videos about this as well. So and then like implement whatever you learn from other videos. I know that kind of shoots myself in the foot because you're watching the video of the competition, but honestly, I want what's best for you. And getting your information from multiple different places and implementing it into one script is going to be 10 times better than getting it from one place and just copying and pasting it. And so once you've done this video, you can go ahead and do that. And then also I'm going to be going over the mindset explanation, just sort of what the like how the prospect feels about it, and just sort of I'm going to be explaining the script's like inner meaning, I guess, like just sort of like how we get them to lower their sales guard down, and then we basically get them to think that you're not even a salesperson in the first place, like not like that really corny cheesy thing where like you're like, oh hey, is this John? I just wanted to ask you a quick question. Would you be okay with it? Like, nothing like that. They're of course gonna know you're a realtor, but they're not gonna have their sales guard up, and that's the main point. And then later I'll also be giving you an action step that you can be using to implement today. This action step will just sort of be really helpful for you in order to start converting leads, listing leads faster, like right now. And I'll be giving you that action step so that you can implement that today, and then you're gonna get some results by doing this. So once you do that, the only reason I'm giving this to you is because like it's gonna be ingrained in your mind forever that it was me who helped you and not someone else. So you're probably gonna like most of the time you might think that like, oh, if he was able to do this for me, he could probably do a lot more. And then you want to book a meeting and just sort of see more what I'm about. And I'm gonna be really transparent. That's the whole goal with this whole thing. So if this is helpful, then yeah, again, link in the description. But yeah, anyways, moving on. How lead generation works boiled down to a system essentially. Lead generation is the process of attracting prospects in the market to the business through your inputs, increasing their interest through stimuli, getting them to take action, which leads to the output of them becoming a client or not, of course, and then giving you feedback to reiterate your system. So, what that essentially means, I'm going to be going over that right now. So, I'm going to pull up another thing that I have right over here. In case you're wondering what this is an entire thing that I'm doing in another video. Probably I'll put like something right over here so you can like go check it out. It's probably the most important video I ever make as far as learning fundamentals goes. But yeah, let's just go over this thing real quick. So, essentially, when it comes down to a system, the function is the purpose of the system, what it essentially does. So there are many different types of systems in a business. I'll take example appointment booking as one of them. Or actually, let's just use advertising. So yeah, so let's say the purpose of the system is advertising to convert it into clients. That's the purpose of it. That's not the results. That's not like most people confuse function with like the end result of like a system, but no, that's just sort of the purpose of it. And then the inputs are sort of the raw materials that we're using into the systems. This could be, scripts, it could be the advertising budget, it could be whatever. This is just sort of the raw materials that you put inside. Processes are something that I'm going to go into a lot in just a minute. But processes are basically things convert and combine raw materials into end product. Uh, that doesn't really make too much sense right now. There's a whole thing about it that I'm going to get into in a minute. But moving on, we're going to go to the outputs. That's just sort of the end product of the raw materials being processed. And the feedback is the information like by outputs that can be used to improve inputs and processes. If you really think about it, feedbacks are basically just metrics. It's just a fancy word for saying metrics. And then like reiterating your system with metrics. But yeah, and then the environment is the place where the system operates in. So that could be basically the market. Like that could be any market. It could be Ottawa, Toronto, Florida, Miami, whatever. But yeah, that's just sort of the market where it operates in. And I'm gonna go on a quick side tangent about the market real quick, just to crush some limiting beliefs people have. So a lot of people, I'm gonna be honest, in the realtor space, I myself included before, uh, really believe that the market controlled the business. And even people who are like super high up there, closing like 40 deals a year, are still like are still like in this belief that like if the market's bad, then they're ultimately gonna go do bad as well. But the reality of it is that 100% of things that happen to you is all your fault, and you should be willing to accept that. That like 100, like if your business did bad last year, you cannot blame the market because that just sort of shows that that just sort of shows that like you're not the one in control, the market is. So the market controls your income, the market controls your results, and that's genuinely a belief that you have. And if you genuinely believe that, then that's genuinely what's going to come to be. So the best thing that you can do for yourself is be honest with yourself, accept that 100% of things that happen to you is your fault, and once you've done that, that means 100% of the results that you get is your fault as well. So if you do really, really well, then you can give yourself a pat on the back and say, I did really good this year, instead of saying the market did really good this year. And well, by that, you have 100% of control over your business, and of having 100% control is a great thing to do to have, and it feels really rewarding. And if I'm going to be honest with you, if you don't want to be your own boss and have 100% then why would you get into entrepreneurship in the first place? I mean, I like it just doesn't really make sense to me. Like at that point, why not just sort of go to a corporate office and have a job and have your own like have a boss and maybe buy him a mug every year or something. But that's just a side tangent. I want to give yourself a pat on the back if you're the type of person to hold yourself accountable, and if not, I don't blame you. I was like that as well. So I'm just giving you an action step to start doing that now, to be the one to hold yourself accountable. But anyways, moving back to the client acquisition and whatnot, I'm gonna be going into processes right now. That's just over here. Actually, I want to show you something. This is essentially what a system looks like. You have a human, you have just sort of your stimuli or process over here, and then there's multiple different systems inside, and then that converts them into a client, and then you have your conversion rates, and then it brings you back over here to reiterate your system. So it's basically just a bunch of microsystems that conduct the macro system that gets you the client. So that's sort of what it looks like if you ever wanted to give it a look. But yeah, okay, so moving on to processes over here. Human plus stimulus equals, actually, no, this is more important. So something I'm going to go over right now is something that a lot of people go get wrong, is that they tend to skip a couple steps and just get straight into it. So what they do instead for client acquisition, um, they would have their stimuli by copying someone else. They'd have their strategy, um, but they would ultimately never be able to get a proper working client acquisition system. Sure, they'll have one. They might get a couple of results, but without the fundamentals here, without this thing, the ball they're just gonna fall apart, and then they're gonna fall everywhere. So having the fundamentals is super important. And in case you don't know what fundamentals are, essentially, if I could explain it lightly, fundamentals are essentially just they can be many different things. They're like philosophies, first principles, things that you learn from like just sort of historians. So you can get your fundamentals from a lot of different places. Personally, what I like to do in order to get fundamentals is I like to study like different philosophies, like the monkey see monkey do, and also stuff like the butterfly effect and everything when it comes down to that. And then also I like to study biology and then historians as well, and I get a lot of my philosophies from there, and that really helps me with structuring my fundamentals. And then it's just it, when you have the fundamentals, like and when like if, for example, a video like this, uh, if you're the type of person, like there's two types of people, right? There's the type of person that's like strategy and stimuli seekers. So in case you don't know, strategies are of course, yeah, pretty obvious, but stimuli is just sort of what gets people interested into like what you're offering them in the first place. Like it just sort of gets them very excited about, and then gets them to take action and whatnot. So, but essentially, there are people who are strategy and stimuli seekers, and they like people who are strategy and stimuli seekers, and you might be one of them right now. You came here for a script, so there's a chance that that might be the case, and you're just looking to copy and paste a script. But when there's someone else who's a fundamental seeker instead, and he's like, okay, why did you make it that way? Why did you decide to use that specific like wording? Why did you decide to, when they try to get the deeper understanding of the fundamentals of what's being taught, then that person will ultimately succeed a lot more than the person who's looking for the strategy and stimuli. Because ultimately, I'm going to be honest with you, strategy and stimuli dies after eventually. Like all systems and all strategy and stimuli die eventually. It's not going to be around forever. But fundamentals will be around forever. So let's say someone has a client acquisition system. They completely skip the fundamental step. They just copied and pasted the script. Then they might get themselves an extra deal a month. That's sick. But that's kind of like their only way that they're getting a deal a month. And then one day this strategy and stimuli it's copy and pasted by so many people that it just stops working. And then it falls to the ground and everything is collapsed. Then that person, because they don't have the fundamentals, they don't know what to do to build it back up because you can't put this like this and then on top of here because they're gonna roll off and then fall on the ground again. The only reason it stayed up before is because you got really I'm gonna say you got really lucky at that point, or like you just copied and pasted a already existing system without fundamentals. But yeah, eventually the system is gonna die and you'll have nothing left. But someone who has the fundamentals, what it does, then it might roll out of place a little bit after maybe 2 years or so, but they understand like how to build it again because they have the fundamentals. They know like what got them interested in the first place. So there's able for them it's really easy to just pick this up and then put it back and then get the ball rolling again. I guess not really literally, but you know what I mean. And so that's why it's so important to understand the fundamentals. And watching a video like this is going to help you a lot with that. But definitely, you should be doing your own research as well as far as fundamental seeking. But yeah, essentially, what a process is. I know I went on about something for a long time, so coming back to a process is a little bit iffy. But process essentially is a human plus stimulus, which is then equal to an action. So I guess another thing to help you understand what it is what a client acquisition is in the first place. Client acquisition is exposing your human in your market to a stimuli to get them to take a chain of actions. So I'm going to be showing you briefly like this is just sort of my stimuli that I use for YouTube. I have a thumbnail and title, hook and content, controlled action. I get you to click on the funnel link and or I guess the funnel link is interesting, and then you have the title, the GIF thumbnail on the video, just sort of stuff that gets you interested, and that gets you to take an action over here, which is like clicking the video, watching the video, reading description, clicking link, watching a video, and then believing social proof, blah blah blah. And so that's just sort of me using stimulus to get you to take action. And so essentially what it is. And the sum of all client acquisition is micro actions are equal to macro actions, and the deciding of becoming a client. So stimulus plus method of deployment and creation for exposure is equal to process. And so macro client acquisitions are made up of a lot of different processes. Like I showed you before, these are all the different processes that go into it. This is not all of them, of course, but this is just sort of an example of how there are many, and then it would sort of look like this as your final system. So, and then this is the process that basically processes everything. And all this other stuff is super important, but not something I'm getting into right now. That'll be something for another video. Let's get back into lead generation for a second. And then you might be also be asking like, well, where the hell's the script? Well, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I said before, you gotta be a fundamental seeker, so you gotta just wait a little bit. And I promise this will all be worth it for when we eventually get to the script and whatnot. But until then, you're just gonna have to sit back and learn all the actual important stuff. So, moving on to my story over here with a 0% conversion rate that essentially stopped me from breathing. I guess it's a little bit of a stretch, but essentially what I mean by that is it didn't really stop me, but sort of the business from breathing. Business without money is essentially a person without oxygen. So I'm just sort of making that, that example right there. Yeah, so I wasn't making any money because my clients weren't making any money. And I'm gonna be honest with you, these two over here, these are not mine. These are just sort of stuff I searched up like online, like bad statistics. They're not actually that bad, but yeah. So essentially, when I was in this situation, I had my clients telling me that this wasn't working for them. It didn't really make any sense, and they were spending way too much on it, and it didn't make any sense to do another month. And then I had people kind of like starting for a couple days and then blowing me off. And then I also had people who wouldn't take my thing, they wouldn't take it seriously. They wouldn't, like when I asked them to record a video for me and send it to me, they were like, that's not really something that I do. And they wouldn't really take me seriously at all because I didn't have results, I didn't have like anything at that point. I had a 0.01% conversion rate, I think. Yeah, it was pretty much that. So I'd get like every 100 leads, I might potentially close one deal. And then we had a 0.5% click-through rate. We ran the typical ads on Facebook where we were like, what was it again? It's really popular. Oh yeah, free home evaluations and free custom list of homes. That was it. Yeah. So we were getting tons of leads, but none of them were converting because I had no clue what I was doing. And I would always have to lie to my clients and tell them I knew what I was doing, when in reality I had no clue at all. Like I was clueless. And I was the whole reason that this came to be is that because I was doing monkey see monkey do, which is something we can get into in just a second. But yeah, I don't question the picture over here. I actually don't really get it too much either. I just thought it was kind of funny. But yeah, so monkey see monkey do is what got me to this situation in the first place. And if you're not careful, it's gonna get you there as well. So let's get straight into it. So the number one mistakes everyone makes: monkey see monkey do. Out. This is supposed to be the grand reveal, but I already told you, so I mean, take it as you will. So let's say, for example, we have this monkey over here. This takes place in a circus, so I guess you could call that the environment, the market. This takes place in a circus, and there are different monkeys. The audience throws bananas at them to feed them. The circus people don't end up feeding the monkeys because they're monkeys. They have to I don't really know. It's like people. Like people need to get jobs. They need to sustain themselves, right? So essentially, they don't feed the monkeys. The audience feeds the monkeys. So there's this monkey over here on a unicycle. Everyone feeds him bananas, and because they like his tricks, they find him entertaining. So they give him bananas, and then he does more tricks. And so some other monkey saw this and thought that he would do the exact same thing without learning any of the fundamentals or practices or the training that this monkey had to do for years. He just decided to he just wanted to just jump straight into it, jump on a unicycle, hope it works. And then that didn't work out too well for him. He fell down and then he broke his legs, and now he can't do anything anymore. And so he won't get fed, and then he'll just die. Or I guess to make the story a little more lighthearted, he won't die. He'll just be sent to a zoo instead of a circus. Um, so essentially, yeah, this monkey, without wasting any time at all, he just went straight into it, didn't learn any of the fundamentals. He just went straight into copying what the other monkey did, and then found himself being screwed. And if there, let's say, for example, instead of, he actually took the time to learn how to do it and then did the exact same thing, well, that would screw over both of the monkeys because now there's two people monkeys doing the exact same act. Probably the one over here would do something new and different to get more bananas because he understands the fundamentals. But let's say he didn't, and there was two monkeys just doing the unicycle trick, then everyone would kind of be screwed, and then the system would stop working, or it would be divided into half. But yeah, essentially, then moving on. So let's say there's another monkey. He sees what was going on over here, and he decides that he will not pay attention to anything anyone else is doing, and he'll go off on his own and he'll create his own system. Sorry. Okay, he'll create his own system, and he's essentially going to be a completely different and a new and improved act from everyone else. So what he does is he waits and then creates an act, and his act is just sitting down doing nothing. And then he waits, and nothing happens, and so then he's sent back to the zoo as well. And so essentially what happened here, even if he did something cool like just like jumped up and down or something, I don't know. But like still it went against what the market wanted. It went against what the audience wanted. The audience wanted to see something cool. This monkey just thought that he could be lazy and not pay attention to what anyone else is doing, and then just screw himself and shoot himself in the foot by just sitting there and doing nothing. So he tried to go against the market, and that screwed him over. And this really resonates with today's modern age business, where there are a lot of people who think that they know better than the market, and they try to go against it. They try to fight the market. And essentially, what happens to almost all businesses, you can especially see this in Shark Tank, where when they try to fight the market, they end up being crushed. Like when you find yourself in a situation where you're fighting the market, that like and then just like doing something completely unique, and then just sort of assuming what other people want, it's gonna like it's probably gonna end up like crushing you. And but if you can go with the market, you can go with what the market wants. You can go with what like your audience or customers or potential or prospects want, then that'll greatly service you in a way that like that'll have a lot more returns and a lot better results than going against the market. So yeah, that's just sort of that. And then there's the monkey over here, who's a lot smarter than the rest, and he's observing what the different monkeys in the circus are doing, because this is not the only monkey. There's multiple different monkeys getting bananas, and he's looking at what all the other monkeys are doing, and he's taking the time to actually learn the different processes and whatnot, and he takes the best part of every single monkey's act, and then he uses his brain to make his own genetic mutation of the other systems. And then he ends up being the monkey that gets the most bananas. Everyone's giving this monkey bananas. He's known as the monkey matrix, because he saw what everyone liked and he made his own genetic mutation of it that got everyone's attention. And eventually, this could put the other two monkeys out of business because this one's doing so much better. So he took the time to actually work on his product or on his fundamentals, and then he went into market, and that like ultimately served a lot better than the person over here who just rushed straight into it. So it's just that, and he ended up winning. And so there's a thing for this. It's steal like an artist. It essentially tells you how to go about copying other people in a way that is actually smart and non-fraudulent or whatever. So here it is. Wait, where did it go? Sorry, I just gotta go through this whole thing again. But yeah, take a look at this. Right over here. There's good theft and bad theft. I'll go over the important ones. Honor, degrade, and then so that actually not too important. Study and skim. So like this monkey over here, he actually studied what the other people were doing, and then he was like taking the time to learn it, while this monkey over here was just skimming it, and then hoping that like it would work out for him. And it did not. It went the complete opposite direction. And then steal from many and steal from one. So this monkey, what he did over here, I just keep going back to this one because this is the most common situation. He just tried to steal from this one guy and then just copy his act and do the exact same thing. Well, no, that's not gonna work. But when this one stole from the smart monkey, when he stole from everyone, he stole from many. He actually like his thing looked a lot more professional and unique. So that's why you should steal from. That's why I told you at the beginning of this video, don't just watch this video, watch multiple different videos, because when you do that, it's going to greatly service you. And so that's why I always tell people to actually look at multiple different sources instead of just one. It's something called lateral reading inside. That's what people who write articles do. They do lateral reading. And then get their information from multiple different places. Because if you just get it from one, then most likely it's not correct, or it's like gonna screw you over when you write an article about it and you'll kind of look like an idiot. But yeah, and then also another one is remix and rip off. It's kind of the exact same thing as what I said. This one just ripped off this one. This one remixed what the other two monkeys did. But yeah, it's just sort of that. And so this is the number one mistake everyone does. Monkey see, monkey do. I hope you now understand the fundamentals of monkey see, monkey do, and you can apply that to your own business. So after this video, go and do some more research there. And now I'm going to get into actually what you're here for, which is the script. So this is essentially the script right here. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to like basically explain to you the framework of how it's structured, and then from there I'm actually going to be opening up the script on a Google Doc and then explaining it in much more detail, so that it actually makes sense. But it's probably best if you understand the framework of it first. And just wanted to let you know, sorry, my voice is a bit really rashy today, so I can't do all as great a job as being, super enthusiastic. especially since I have a huge fever. But I'll try my best, and you let me know how that plays out. So essentially, when we're calling them, we're essentially the number one thing you want to keep in mind is that we'd rather be warm calling them rather than cold calling them. So what that essentially means is actually I have a really good example. The other day I was doing some research for this video. I was looking at different people's videos, like what they were doing, and I came across this one guy who his script essentially when he called his leads from I think they were from Facebook ads. And he was running like a free home evaluation. He would call up those leads, and then he'd be like, "I saw you signed up for our free home evaluation. When were you looking to sell your home?" Uh, and so, or actually, no. First off, he came like, "Oh, hi, this is Josh." That's not actually his name. I'm just using an example. Hi, this is Josh with XYZ Real Estate Company. I saw that you signed up for our free home evaluation. When were you looking to sell your home? And they just assumed the sale. They assumed that they already wanted to sell the home with them just because they signed up to a free home evaluation or a home appraisal or whatever. And like what that essentially does is that is a huge turnoff for the prospect. Like automatically their sales guard is up. They're like, no, 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 no. Actually, I was just looking around. I don't actually want to commit to anything or anything like that. Or they just hang up, or it's a really it was really bothersome. Like it was a live cold calling thing, and I saw like how the prospects treated him when he would do stuff like that. And then after that, he said that okay, I'll just do the free home evaluation for free. You don't have to work with me. And I don't really understand the purpose of that. Like that didn't really make sense to me. I used to do that stuff as well, so I don't really blame them at all. So God, sorry about that. But yeah, no. And so essentially, the number one thing when you're calling people is you don't want to be stupid. So I don't mean that like when you're calling someone and then you do what he did, you're just stupid. No, no, no. I don't mean that at all. What I mean by that is kind of an exaggerated form of when you're calling people. This is the most common thing. When you call someone, you're basically like, "Hey, is this John?" Oh, okay. Hi, John. This is blah 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 with XYZ company. Um, and then you sort of frame yourself as a salesperson at the very beginning. You don't want to do that. When you frame yourself as a salesperson, immediately their sales guard goes up and they get really defensive and they give you vague generalized answers if you ask them any questions. And what I mean by that is that sometimes, people will pay you and they'll stay on the call, and when you ask them the questions that you should be asking, they'll give you really vague statements so that they don't have to commit to anything. So when I mean that don't be stupid, I mean that they obviously if you're calling their phone, this is John's phone. Almost like 90% of the time it's gonna be John that picks up. And by chance, if it's like his wife or his friend or something, you can just say like, hey, can I get John on the line? And then when John picks up, you can be like, hey, John, what's up? It's just Sinan Said calling. Good afternoon. And so that's just sort of how I start my script. I'm not like when I say good afternoon, that leads them to respond with something like, "Oh, good afternoon. How are you?" Or even if they say, "Who is this?" I can play around with it a little bit and be like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't even introduce myself. My name is Sinan Said, and I'm the guy that you saw in your fashion magazine this morning." And then they'll be like dumbfounded. It's obviously a joke. Like I'm just kind of playing around. This has actually worked really well before, but yeah, what I mean by that is like you kind of want to just come off as their best friend, or like a long lost friend or something like that, and you don't want to come off as a salesperson. Now, obviously, you don't want to take that to its extreme, where you don't talk anything about real estate. You go on about like completely useless things, like you go off of like the weather or grandma's funeral or something like that. I mean like you don't want to talk about random things. You want to keep the main thing the main thing. You want to talk about real estate, but at the same time you don't want to come off as a salesperson like the other person did and be like a real estate agent who's like desperate for the sale. So that's one thing. And something else that's really important that you should be going to next is understanding that you are not the first person to be calling them. When you call them, you should have like a reasoning tone that you get the frustration that this is something you have to understand in order to act like this. You have to understand that you are not the first person to call them about listing their home. They've probably gotten like 100 calls from real estate agents, and also they've probably signed up for multiple different ads. So if you come off as someone who is similar to the other people that have burned them before, or someone who has annoyed them, if you come off as similar to them, then they're just gonna reject you immediately, hang up the phone, do whatever. So you want to come off as unique. So when they say like, for example, if they say like, "Good afternoon, how are you?" You want to play around with it. Like you really want to play around with it. You want to sound like, "Oh, today like has been absolutely amazing. You know, I've been living life to the absolute fullest. I'm just calling people from my backyard right now. It's absolutely beautiful outside. Having an amazing day. How about you?" And then when you say that, they're gonna give you like their answer, whatever, and then you can just lead it and say, "Yeah, yeah, okay, that sounds good." Or you can just play around with it, whatever, and then you can go into your pitch. You'll be like, you gotta sound like you understand the frustration. You'll be like, I know that you get a ton of calls like this, and I don't want to waste your time. I'm calling you because you showed interest in the YouTube ad I made going over XYZ home sale strategy. Whatever your ad is about, you want to put that there, and and then you just want to sort of frame yourself as you get the frustration that they get a ton of calls. And so when you do that, you come off as differently than the other people who are just asking them to sell their home. And so that's something else that's really important. And then next you want to identify who you're looking for. So once you talked about like, oh yeah, sure, I saw that you showed interest. I don't want to waste your time. And right now I'm specifically looking for someone that's looking to sell in, I don't know, Barhaven, or, or what other cities are Toronto. I saw that I'm looking specifically looking for someone who's looking to sell in the Toronto Scarborough area sometime in the near future, and connecting them with my buyers, or you could, or if you don't have any buyers, you can say, and helping them sell their home for top dollar and help them stand out in today's market. Now that sounds very salesy, and I know, but when you identify who you're looking for, they can put two and two together and be like, oh yeah, no, that's me. I'm that type of person. So obviously, like that does come off as pretty salesy, but this next statement is gonna really, it's gonna like lower their guard to zero, and you're gonna find this really smart. So next, what you're gonna want to do is you want to be like your offended statement. So once you said like your value proposition, you want to go into, would you be offended, pause, if I send some additional information to your email? This way, in case life ever threw you a curveball and you began to list your home, you'd have the exact tools and resources to do so. So when you say, would you be offended, we live essentially in a day and age where on the social media, everyone seems to get offended very easily. So everyone wants to come off as someone who's not offended easily. So when you say that, would you be offended, they're going to be like, no, I would not be offended. And also something else that's really smart about this thing over here is that we're asking to send them an email. Now, we're not asking them to make any big commitments or anything like that. We're just asking them to send an email. And what's the number one thing people say when like to blow you off when you try and cold call them? They're like, "Oh yeah, send me an email," right? So if you frame yourself as someone who's sending them an email right now, they'll think, "Oh, I don't have to obligate to anything, and I'll just pretend that I'm gonna read the email, but I'm not actually gonna do that." That's probably what's going through their head. So they'll be like, "Yeah, sure, I don't mind. Yeah, you can send me an email. That's perfect." And they signed up for the ad in the first. Probably already were looking to get an email from you in the first place. So I mean, that they can put two and two together, then they wouldn't mind. And also something else about this is that when you say like, in case life ever threw you a curveball, of course life's gonna throw them a curveball. Life throws a curveball to anyone. So this just makes logical sense that you want to send them an email. So when it makes logical sense, they can piece it together. That yeah, sure, that I don't mind sending them. And I've almost never had anyone say that like not to send them an email. And if they do, if they say that like I already have a family realtor or something like that, or like no, I'm not really interested, then I have a ton of scripts and rebuttal vaults and everything like that. I'm not going to be going over it in this video, but if you want, just type script in the comments below. I'll send it over to you. And I'll also send you some live cold calling examples of me like actually using this script on some people. So just write that down in the comments below. I'll send it over to you through your email or something, and then you can give that a look. There's also a ton of other stuff I'll send to you, like I'm doing like weekly stuff. So yeah. But anyways, getting back to the main thing. Um, I'm really sorry, really rashy throat. So, then you want to offer like a personalized email. So you want to get into the next thing where you're like, great. I already have your email address here, and just so I can send over something you actually want to read instead of a bunch of copy and paste generic info that probably is being sent to everyone else, can I just ask you a quick few couple of questions? This way, I can personalize this information to better suit you. And so when you say that, it makes complete logical sense that, like, yeah, no, you want to ask some questions and make sure that it makes sense to send them an email in the first place. And you also want to come off as you don't want to waste their time. So, and like, it's really easy for the prospect. Like, this makes complete logical sense. Even a 3-year old can understand this. That, like, it just makes sense as to why you'd want to ask them a couple of questions. Now, what you're doing here is something that's called like the Trojan I think it's like the Trojan horse framework, where you're coming off as like you're not gonna actually obligate them for anything. When in reality, when they least expect it, you are, and but you're gonna do it in a way that actually aligns with their incentives, and then they'd be more than happy to do so. But right now, you have to pull off the Trojan horse act and first get into what was the place called again? I don't know. Whatever the place is called. Um, you want to get behind like the walls in the first place. Actually, yeah, okay, okay. And so once you've done that, you want to layer as many questions as possible. Identify the pain, and then just sort of point it out to them and be like, oh, you're in pain here, here, and then you want to offer your value proposition. So right now, what I'm actually going to do for you is I'm gonna open up the script in like the Google Doc, and then I'll show you exactly what that would look like. So let me just bring that over here. Just right here. Okay, perfect. So, like I said before, if you want the script, then just comment script in the comment. I'll send it over to you. But this is just essentially what it would look like. Um, and like I said, don't copy and paste me. I promise you, it won't go well. Learn as much stuff as possible from other people and customize this to your tonality. Because I tried like using something from an Australian guy once, and that heavily screwed me over because I don't sound the same as an Australian. So when I was like, "Crikey, mate, how's your day been?" Like it sounds really really weird. So yeah, over here, what you want to do is when you're gonna layer the questions, once you've said like, can I ask you a couple of questions so I can personalize the information to better suit you? You can be so you're gonna start off with just asking the core questions that you should be asking them. I'll let you know right now. You should be asking them the timeline, how long it's gonna take. You should be asking them how much were they looking to sell it for? Were they looking to make any renovations or anything like that? And then and just sort of identifying their plan, I guess. Ask them if they were looking to buy a home as well, and if they're already working with another realtor. Yeah. So once you've done that, you've asked like those specific questions, and I'm actually going to show you real quick how to layer questions. So a lot of it comes down to tonality and not sounding scripted, because something I see very often is that when people ask a bunch of questions, they sound very scripted. They're like, okay, when are you looking to sell your home? Then they say, oh yeah, I'm looking to sell in 6 months, and then they go on and on about how the last time they sold their home it took them a lot longer, and they tell you this whole story, and then you just completely ignore it, and then you're like, oh, okay, and how much are you looking to sell it for? You just completely ignore their story, and so you don't even come off as human. You just come off as someone like a robot who's reading a script. So a lot of this, I can't specifically tell you to use these questions because every conversation is different, right? So these are just the main things that you should have, but you should also layer it on top of with a conversation as well. But don't get lost in the conversation. Keep the main thing the main thing. The whole point of this is to actually get the listing appointment. So you're going to be asking questions that actually make sense to their situation. So here, I'll start you off over here. So once you get their permission to ask questions, you can be like, and just so I can get a better understanding of the whole picture, what is your timeline on getting your home sold? And then they'd say something like, oh yeah, I've actually been looking to get my home sold in 6 months. And then you'd be like, okay, got it, that makes sense. And in terms of the home itself, would you say there are any standout features that you believe would appeal to potential buyers? So in this point, like if they give you kind of like a vague answer, then you can move on to the next question just like that. But The only reason they're giving you a vague answer is because somewhere in the call you lifted their sales resistance, and that shouldn't be happening. So you should be identifying that bottleneck and fixing that so that you can get a more like friendly answer from them, and so that it can actually lead towards more so of a conversation. And then if they say that they've sold their home before, and like yeah, they say that they've sold their home before, then you could be like, oh wait, you sold your home before, okay, that makes this process a whole lot better. Hey, and when you did sell your home before, what were some problems I guess you had when you did it the first time? And they could be like, oh yeah, no, it was really annoying that I had to stay in an Airbnb for so long because no one would be buying the home, it took so long. And then you could be like, oh yeah, wait, really, any do you think there's any reason as to why? They'd say some bullshit like the market or something, or they would say like, oh no, my realtor really screwed me over like this. He did blah blah, or he or she did blah blah blah, and then you could be like, oh, that sounds terrible. Well, I mean, this like that wouldn't really happen if we were to do it in today's market because of X Y Z, and then you ask the next question. So like you want to lead from question to question while also sounding like a human in the conversation. And so once you've done all of that, you ask the questions, layer them on top of each other over and over. What you're going to want to do is offer a value proposition. So once you've gone through all that, you've identified like their pain points, you've identified what they've done before, and then you've done all that. Let's say, for example, the person that we talked to just now, they said that they wanted to sell their home within 4 months, and they were going to spend like probably $30,000 in renovations. And then they were also going to relocate to somewhere else in the neighborhood, but they had having trouble with the whole buying process. You could be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, all right. This info has been really valuable. I really appreciate your time. And if I'm at the property right now, I honestly think I'd be able to help you out. So if I could show you a way that we could get your home sold in about half the time and get you relocated to that part of the neighborhood while only having to spend half as much on renovations and preparations, do you think it would possibly be of any value to you if we had a 30-minute meeting sometime tomorrow? No obligation or anything like that, of course, but would that be of any value to you if we did something like that? And so when you come off as that, you're solving and like they didn't even know they had this problem in the first place, but you're solving an XYZ problem the first time, and you're solving multiple of them. And so when you offer your value proposition, it really aligns with their incentives. So this started off as, oh, this guy's just gonna send me an email to, oh wow, this guy could genuinely help me, and he can genuinely help me with the pain that I'm having. So when you're able to do that, then when the incentives align with both you and the prospect, they'll have no problem with meeting you sometime tomorrow. And then you can have that listing appointment and then convert them. So that's just sort of my way that I get a lot of my leads to actually convert into listing appointments. Another thing I wanted to really heavily focus on to let you know, what I do specifically. So you can use this information as you will, but on YouTube, I do like YouTube ads for my real estate agents, and I only get like maybe 20, 30, 40 leads a month from YouTube, and I have the agent call these people, and then they use this exact script. So they call these people and then use the script, and these leads are a lot more qualified than what, for example, Facebook, because we get them to answer like a survey as well, and we have them all like actually input their information manually instead of just using the Facebook's like auto like put in like their information. We have them all write it out manually and stuff like that. So I've actually optimized more so for lead quality than lead quantity, so that when we call those people, there's a lot better chance of them converting into a listing appointment. And by this, I'm able to get like about like 4 to 5 listing appointments a month for my realtors. And depending on how long they've been in the game, they're able to convert it pretty well. So if you want anything like that, you want to just sort of see how I do this whole thing, then you're free to go watch the sales video in the description below. And if you want to see any of the scripts, you want to see the rebuttal vault, that works really well. When like you use this whole script and someone tells you that they're not interested, you have the perfect rebuttal vault to tackle that rebuttal. You know exactly how to handle the situation so that you can actually make the most of all your leads that you have. Um, definitely go ahead, comment script, and then I'll send that over to you. And then also, so for all the resources and the live cold calls as well, so that you can actually take a look at that. So I guess that'll be it. That'll be the end of this video. I really appreciated you watching this entire thing. Give yourself a real pat on the back for for paying attention and not needing any sort of dopamine or anything like that. I really respect when there are people who are willing to do that instead of instead of having to watch like something where like their dopamine receptors are being fried every like 2 seconds with new flashy stuff. Obviously, like I said before, I'm probably gonna end up doing that myself to help like bring more stuff to the channel. And honestly, this is my first video. If I'm gonna be honest with you, I could really use some feedback. So if you have any feedback for me, please let me know in the comments below. Tell me what I did right. Tell me what I did wrong. And honestly, all what I need right now is the cold hard truth. So I'd really appreciate it. And thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have a great day. Bye bye.